I want to briefly introduce Mitsuko. She's in the process of getting certification for is it three T's, right? TTT.
Yep.
Um, and she had posted that she was looking for people to participate and help her with that. And she's working on a form of tapping that is very different. So I'm gonna let her explain it. Well, it's somewhat different. She can explain the differences and so forth. But it was a really great session, and I'm glad y'all were interested in having her come and be part today.
Thank you so much, Yvonne, and thank you everyone for having me today. Good morning. My name is Mitsuko Ito. It's a very, very typical Japanese name. There are tons of Mitsukos, there are tons of Itos. So, but if you look up tapping and Mitsuko Ito, then I probably would pop up relatively early on the Google listing for now.
Bless you.
Bless you. Yes. So, yeah, Yvonne, thank you so much for volunteering yourself the other day for my certification training. And with that, she invited me to share this with a group of other people, which I'm always, always excited and honored to do. The past 4 years after we were thrown into the pandemic, before that, I have already been a certified EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques tapping practitioner. But with the pandemic happening at my workplace at Georgia Tech, I had this massive opportunity to share this with my colleagues. And so, with the colleague support, because a lot of people had felt the benefits of the tapping, we have been sharing this across the campus and beyond. But this EFT tapping that I was originally trained in is a little bit different from the TTT tapping that Yvonne had done with me. And today, I think that even though I love, love, love EFT tapping, I would love to take you through the TTT tapping, trauma tapping technique, which is offered by the Peaceful Heart Network. And the reason for that is because, as some of you have mentioned earlier, we are in this situation worldwide, which with COVID, that was definitely for me. I'm not sure about your experience, but I would assume a lot of you would also have felt very, very disrupted in our lives, very, very emotionally dysregulated, emotionally upset. There might have been a lot of grief or just a semi-traumatic experience. Let me see if anyone resonates with that the past several years. Yeah, definitely. I'm not the only one here. So the way that tapping technique works, oh, let me ask you too. Have any of you heard or experienced EFT tapping or just heard the word tapping in general? Okay, so some of you brand new. If you're brand new to tapping, never heard of tapping other than tap dancing, which is different. Okay, just a few of you. Yeah. Well, basically tapping, what we do is we literally tap on some of the points around the face and the upper torso. And the reason why we do that is because there has been studies shown that when you insert needles into those acupuncture points, which we'd be tapping on, there's a down regulation of the amygdala, which means that the stress response center, the emotional brain part of the brain, gets a little more quieter. So what that means in our practical term in our daily life is that when we're feeling a lot of stress, if we're able to stimulate those acupuncture points, if you go to an acupuncturist, they'd insert needles and that helps you feel calmer. That helps the nervous system and the brain feel calmer. We're also able to induce such results by stimulating the acupuncture points with our fingers. Now, with the EFT tapping that I was trained in, let me punch that name into the chat box, Emotional Freedom Techniques, or EFT tapping. This was developed in the 90s, and it was developed by someone called Gary Craig. He was a successful business person, a Stanford athlete and graduate, an engineer. So he did not necessarily need to get money by sharing this technique to people. And so it spread like wildfire. One of the things that has happened with the EFT tapping world is that it can also potentially trigger people's feelings. You're trying to free the emotions, which means that you might be accessing some of the suppressed emotions, which means that when you tap into those emotions, sometimes it can really come to the surface and get people agitated. Like that was my one of my first experiences too. My tapping practitioner would say, "Well, I'm going to say some words to you, and this might hit you. You might have an emotional reaction. Do you think that you can handle it?" I said, "Well, I'm ready for anything to seek the emotional relief." And so she said, as we were tapping, she said, "I'm a bad mom." And that just really deeply resonated with me at the time. My oldest was just becoming a teenager and we were having issues, and I had three younger ones, and I was just feeling so guilt-ridden and just feeling so incapable of being a mom. And so when she said that, I just immediately burst into tears and just had to go through a whole box of, maybe not a whole box, but tons of tissues. So that can happen, which is very emotionally freeing. You're allowing the emotion to come to the surface and you're allowing it to process. It's a powerful technique, emotional freedom technique, CFT tapping. But me doing this on my colleague with my colleagues on the Georgia Tech campus where I work during the day, we don't necessarily need people to get that emotional. We don't necessarily need to tap into the deep emotions, right? So what we have done, what I was seeking is a safer technique, a safer tapping technique, which the Peaceful Heart Network that I put in there in the chat box, they have a really great way of delivering tapping. Let me see. Would it be possible to mute Katrina's, um, just to keep the noise level? Thank you so much. Um, yeah, so the tapping trauma tapping technique offered by the Peaceful Heart Network. These folks, they've done lots of works. They work with thousands of people. They have worked with Rwanda and Congo people, Africa, genocide survivor descendants, that level of trauma. And the way that they worked with them is to incorporate some music, incorporate some breathing, and just take out the words. Like my practitioner, how she said, repeat after me, I'm a bad mom, as we were doing the tapping. That was too much for me, too much stimulation for me. So we took out the words with the TTT tapping that I'll take you through the exercise today and just make it purely simple with the breathing and tapping and just gentle mindfulness, basically. And I think that is sufficient for a lot of people these days. Now, if someone had a trauma memory or emotional wound that they can isolate and they really want to work on that and release that from the body, release that from the nervous system, rewire the brain, then that is possible with EFT tapping. But TTT tapping is a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, and powerful tool to do in our daily lives. I'm curious, Yvonne, if you would be willing to share your experience, how that was for you, what your observation was, because I think you have done some tapping in the past too, and this
I
how
had
this.
done some tapping, and so the session that we did last week, for me, I concentrated on different parts of my body to remove the pain. And so I got a lot of relief. I got shifting, and then I would tap into the where the shift was and remove some of that pain that had shifted to a different area. But certainly, it probably the shifted area probably was in pain before as well. But the one place I focused on was overriding that. So I got lots of relief with that and felt a lot more relaxed after the session. So I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, so the reason why we feel more relaxed is because our stress response goes down as we do the tapping. And the reason why the stress response goes down is, as we were talking earlier, as we're stimulating some of these meridian points, which is what this chart was going to be for. This is an acupuncture meridian chart, traditional Chinese medicine, well developed in many thousands of years ago in ancient Chinese societies. They had tons of case studies, tons of anecdotes to where they were able to build up this map of the energy system, right? So, like with Reiki, some of you do that, pranic healing, we work with the chakra system, but meridian system is yet another one that's deeply embedded in the body, also have a very close working relationship with the nervous system and many other different parts of the body, the vagus nerve, for example, too. the nervous system and the meridian system. I really like how these two are related to each other. So with the vagus nerve, there are different branches. It's considered to have not just one function, but several different functions. But when we're stressed, sometimes this red portion of the vagus nerve can get really imbalanced. So we might have digestive issues. We might have a gut-wrenching feeling. Our heart might start pounding really fast, or we might just, go blank. There's so many symptoms that stress would have can show up, manifest in different ways in our bodies because it's so connected to the nervous system. So as we're tapping into the meridian system, we're creating the shifts with the nervous system, which is also affecting the brain. So there are many doctors, those that are dealing with long COVID, long haul situations, or many different toxicity too. If they talk about the mind body connection, this is one of the techniques that's been listed as well, because we're able to powerfully shift the chemical composition of the body. Studies have shown that, well, this is EFT, but the EFT studies have shown that cortisol level drops 43%, 38% in different studies. And that is massive after just 1 hour tapping with that. That level of cortisol linked to inflammation. So if we're able to shift the amount of cortisol in our body, how you can think about how that's helpful with the inflammation too. And so there are massive, massive benefits with being able to do self-tapping. So let's get to it. I hope that was a good intro to capture your interest, but if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself, or put that in the chat box at any point. I would love to respond to any curious questions as well. So don't feel shy. And thank you so much for the thumbs up. Well, then let's go into the exercise. So what we're going to do here, we'll start tapping the side of the hand. It can be the left hand, it can be the right hand. You can do both if that feels good to you. But again, this is one of the meridians. So we'll just, meridian points. I'll just keep on showing you different points, but this one is around here. And then later on, we'll be going to different places. Sometimes we might be hitting the end of the red line here, the nose point, or the end of the blue line here, or the end of the gray line right here. So those are where the tapping points come from. And as we tap the side of the hand, I tend to be a fast tapper, so you're welcome to go much more gently and slower if that's your preference. Was it you, Yvonne, that you liked really just touching on it too? Okay, yeah, yeah. So trust your body, work with your body. If this is too strong, too fast, too stimulating, just work with your body. Just do what feels right. The points are what's important, or actually, I think the intention is what really, really counts, but let's go with that. So as we start tapping the side of the hand, and I invite anyone, if you feel comfortable doing it together with me, let's do it together. Yeah, just think about what's happening in your body. Just have this observational stance and see where you're noticing the stress. Is there a weight on your shoulder? Is there a clenching of your jaw? Is there a pit in your gut? What is your unique signature response right in this moment? Do you have anything? Some people, when they get nervous, their knee might start shaking. Some people, when they think about something, they might get a tension headache. So each person's nervous system is wired in different ways, unique to your upbringing, experience, and what you observed, among other things. With that intention, with that awareness, we're going to be moving into the different tapping points. Let's start tapping the beginning of the eyebrow. And then we're going to go swiping on the forehead a few times like this as we move over to the corner of the eye and gently tap or touch there. If you want to take a gentle breath in and out as we're tapping on those points, that's always welcome too. Just the breath in itself has a nerve calming effect. Shifting the stress response as we do a longer exhale. And then we're going to swipe over again to the top of the cheekbone and do another tapping here. And part of the reason why we swipe our face is because just like facial reflexology, facial massage, the face has lots of reflex points, acupuncture points, energy points to help create such shift with the nervous system to make you feel good. And we can swipe over to this is under the nose and above the lip, so the stented area. Yeah, you can swipe anywhere, but we're going to swipe over there and again, tap right here. Yep. And let's take a gentle breath in, pausing at the top if you can, and then slow, long exhale. Moving over, sliding over to the chin point. Again, not the tippy top, a little bit up the dented area. Once again, breathing in calm. Ah. If you want to make an audible sound, you're welcome to. This is not actually part of the TTT protocol, but I love combining breath with it. And let's move over to the collarbone area, just chest point. Now you can go to the side with the EFT tapping where they learned that there's such a massive drop of cortisol. They were working specifically with the kidney 27 point, which is 1 inch down and 1 inch to the side from the top of the collarbone. But if we look at the mighty tapping chart, again, you can see that there's so many lines running here. So with the TT tapping, unlike EFT tapping, we can just invite people to go tap wherever it feels good to you, up and down the breastbone or sideways. And particularly helpful, I think, at least for me personally, over here where the shoulder meets the arm. This is a lung channel. Lung channel runs down this way and it's connected to grief, the emotion of grief. So for those of us that had to, could not travel to see our loved ones, I had many colleagues that could not, that missed their family's funeral, their mother's father's funeral, for example. There's a lot of unprocessed grief. So you can just rub or tap or just place your hands with loving, kind intention, whatever works for you. And if there's a place in your body that resonates, that gives you a stronger zing, or that even hurts, those are considered as hurt good points. And you can give extra TLC to those points too. Now, just a few more points into the rib cage. Into the rib cage, and or you can combine it with the thumb under the arm, or you can cross your hands and go the other way, tap under the arm like that too. Spinaline channel right there. And then we're going to be moving into the finger tapping. Pinky, ring finger, middle finger, forefinger, and thumb. And let's take one gentle breath here. So breathing in, pausing at the top, and slow exhale. Let's do one more. Gentle breathing in, calm, pausing, and exhale. Now, if we started tapping this side earlier, we're going to switch hands. If you don't remember, don't worry about it. We'll just try our best to make it equal on the other side of the body. Let's do it one more time. And by this point, for some of you who might be sensitive, might already felt some shift. Some of you might feel a little spaced out or a little yawny. If you do, then that is a good sign that your stress response has already shifted a little more into a calming response, the sympathetic into the parasympathetic. So once again, tapping on the side of the hand and going back to the eyebrow point. And this time I will go a little faster, take out the explanations. So we'll be swiping over to the corner of the eye. This doesn't have to take a lot of time when we're doing one round of tapping. And then swiping over to the top of the cheekbone. And swiping over to the nose point. Feel free to take gentle breaths in here and there. And then to the chin point. And then to the collarbone point. Into the rib cage or underarm. Going to the other side of the finger. Yes, or maybe this. Whichever one works. Ring finger, middle finger, forefinger, thumb. Let's take gentle breaths in. Pause and slow, long exhale as if you're letting go of the stress. Let it out from your body. Another gentle breath in. Pause and another grounding breath coming back into our body, into the center of our body. That was the foundational tapping, trauma tapping technique protocol. Let me ask you, who here felt the stress level going up? You can give me a 3 or put 3 in the chat box. Who here feels like that was an interesting exercise, but it didn't do much to me? You can show me a 2. Thank you. Who here feel like maybe there's a little more relaxation and feel a little calmer, weight lifted? 1. Okay, I see a 3 now. Does that mean the stress level went up or 1? Okay, okay. So the majority have experienced some type of, what would you call that? Was it calming, relaxation? Was it, do you want to type that in the chat box? I'm curious to hear what your experience was and how that was different from before and after. And what kind of shift you noticed? And if someone wants to unmute yourself, feel free to too. Shiny, open, held, calming, a shift in focus. Lovely. So some of you felt shiny, meaning like light. Yeah, that's really cool. Also calmer. Yeah.
I have tardive dyskinesia, and my feet always look like I'm playing a pump organ, and my jaw always goes from side to side. And I found when I was tapping on the side of the hand, that still, it all stilled. My feet stopped, my jaw, was quite impressive as far as
Mm,
I'm concerned.
mm-hmm. That doesn't happen to everyone, but that is also not an atypical experience. Just the other day when I was sharing this with one of the students at the Georgia Tech campus, before we even get to the other point, she said, wow, I feel it. So there's something that's happening. And all these meridians are connected with each other. They're just a one big loop that's just cut in different segments, and we name it that way. So I thank you so much for sharing that observation, how powerful it was for you
Yeah.
already at just this point. So yes, you don't have to do the full protocol. If there was a point that works for you, you can definitely make that your go-to point. That's probably what your body's needing right now to get stimulated in the moment. Yes.
I was really hesitant to come today because I've had like not great experiences with like a ton of people around me whacking themselves all the time, like through meetings and like classes. Like
Oh,
they were just like tapaholics. And I was just like, oh no. But like, I don't know. I'm grateful that like it's like you talked about it being like a gentler than EFT and talking about how like you can do what feels good to you. And I always really appreciate that, because I think some people who maybe have like, you know, healthier systems, even because I experienced like a ton of inflammation because of mold exposure, like their systems, you know, might be able to handle a more aggressive, you know,
Yep.
approach. But I love that you're introducing like go at your own level. So it's actually working for me. When I heard about this, I didn't think it would. So that's nice. Thanks.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, I think that is a big missing piece in our EFT community. A lot of us are drawn to EFT because it does work really well for us. And I'm definitely one of those tapaholic. I love that word, because it's something that has helped us, and we become overzealous and just want everyone to tap like we did because it worked for us. But that's, again, not everyone's situation. Like you said, a different threshold, different window of tolerance. And I think that the tapping community, practitioners community, we can be better with the tapping, the trauma awareness. And I think post-COVID, especially being trauma aware, being gentle, being very sensitive to each body's needs is definitely coming to the forefront. Whereas the Peaceful Heart Network, they've been doing that many years all along. That's why a lot more tapping practitioners, EFT practitioners, are also retraining themselves through the Peaceful Heart Network. It looks like it's simplified. It looks like EFT is more sophisticated, but that doesn't mean that it always is the best tool for everyone. I think that the TTT with Peaceful Heart Network definitely has really great value. Yeah, thank you for sharing that response. I appreciate it. Let's see. I have a friend whose tapping is resonant throughout the house. That is funny. Like, you can hear it. And I do feel like the beat, the vibration, the thump, for some people, we need that. But that's some of us. It doesn't have to be for everyone. Yeah, that's funny. The kind of repetitive motion can trigger stress in folks nearby. That is very true, even for the individuals that are tapping too. So we practitioners need to be very careful about offering options if you just want to do the touch and breathe, because tapping is inherently stimulating. Um, and that's where I think they end it with a breathing round, because breathing slow exhale is more calming in nature. My personal tapping protocol that I share at Georgia Tech, I also include this one. So if do we still have time, Yvonne? Yeah, how much more time do we have? If I can, if
I have
it's,
an
I'm sorry.
Before you go on, could I just interject something?
Yes, yes.
When I learned the EFT,
Uh-huh.
I personally like the tapping on the head.
I love it too.
I
Yeah.
can feel that one more than the tapping every place else. It
Mm-hmm.
resonates more with me. They start on the head and then go down to this basically the same places. But
Yes.
I like the head part.
Yeah. If that works for you, definitely incorporate that. You can get started with it. I think that this group is being a little culture sensitive because, for example, in the Indian culture, might be the chakra, crown chakra, and they don't, with EFT, we often recite the negatives, what we're stressed about. And they want to be respectful of not tapping in the negative into the crown chakra. I don't subscribe to that idea. I think that this is a powerful point, and I would not hesitate reciting or connecting to what's bothering me as a way to lift it. So it's again, a personal choice. But with TTT, Peaceful Heart Network, I think that might be part of the reason why they don't necessarily start or even include that there. But this is a potent point. It's called 100 meets. And so a lot of the meridians converge there. So by tapping here, there can have many impact on different meridian systems. Let me just check on the,
We
yeah.
go to 1 o'clock here in Georgia, so
Okay, great.
you have time.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you mentioned that you're focusing on ridding the negative energy, but at the same time, I translate that or transmute that to be that's raising my vibration and allowing me to be fully open, and my aura fills up and I feel, like I said, shiny and open. And I think that's really good.
That is great. Yeah, I love that. Donna Eden, who sees 9 energy systems, is she familiar with any of you?
Mm-mm.
Donna Eden? Yeah, okay. Well, she sees the chakra, she sees the meridians, she sees the radiant circuit, she sees many, she calls 9 different, calls out, has label for 9 different energy system. So the meridian's just one of them. But according to her, as she see us doing the tapping, she says that the light, she sees the light pulsating stronger in the meridian system, which
Yeah.
then also helps the chakra spin faster because the stronger pulsation. So when I read your shiny word, I felt like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. There's someone feels that and experiences that. The calmer approach doesn't do that at all. Oh, the kind of repetitive motion can trigger stress in folks nearby, but the calmer approach doesn't do that at all. Okay. Do you want
That's
to say anything
interesting.
more?
Yeah, with Carrie's comment, that was interesting because whether it's the repetitive motion or a sound, or like an EFT, you're repeating the words. To me, the words distract me and I can't fully feel it.
Yeah, I think that's another, yes, that's a really excellent point. My observation is that tapping that came from the ancient societies, Asian countries, they would just tap anywhere on the body. Acupuncturists would insert needles in the precise points, but back then, you wouldn't necessarily be verbalizing what's happening. The benefit of the words like counseling session, talk therapy, and mindful exploration of what's happening in our brain, our belief systems, and all that. It's a great way to shift the thinking too. And so the EFT tapping is a combination of both, the best of both worlds in some ways, which is why it was such a breakthrough and caused so much PTSD, phobias, and so many things that can happen really quickly. But you're right. It also, I see the value in just the pure tapping too. It helps us get back into our body when in the Western world, there's so much distraction, so much emphasis on the left brain and not enough on the right brain. It's like so much masculinity and let's honor and listen to our body. We want more of that. I think we're kind of going back or having the option to choose what works for you. So I do like that aspect of not feeling like we have to say something. And that's why I don't always recommend EFT tapping videos, but would rather send people to the TTT videos.
What I was what my experience of that is my husband has ADD, and he's can definitely get into not too much, but if I'm trying to focus and he's, you know, kicking his foot or tapping on the keyboard or something,
Mhm.
that can cause my stress to go up. So I could just imagine hearing something that would drive me nuts. So
I
yeah,
see.
to me it's more
Yeah.
making sure for me, my experience would be I want it to take place here, not out here, because out here is possibly going to overstimulate somebody else that's close by.
That's
But
for
the
sure.
the way the more gentle, smaller motions doesn't have that effect, at least not for me.
Yeah. Well, great finding your style, what you like.
Yeah, and the way I handle that experience, because it can be very disturbing or distracting, is I just say, okay, she's doing what's right and best in her highest interest, and that's her thing. And it's like I let it go. It's white noise to me now.
Mhm.
That's great. That's great. And if you wanted to, as you notice someone else tapping, if that's irritating you, then maybe it's a chance for us to tap on our stress that we're getting triggered by seeing other people tap. So this really, what I appreciated about tapping is that it gave me some practical tool to make any life little nuisances, little life lessons, any triggers to be a growth opportunity. It's like, okay, time to let go. Let me see if I can tap on it and let go, let go. Yeah. So, and
That's a
it's
whole lot
free.
of letting go some days.
Oh, I tell you, yeah. And So we offer weekly tapping circles at Georgia Tech, which is open to everyone.
There you go.
Yeah, but we're really thinking of the micro dosing of tapping here and there rather than intense tapping sessions, which I love too, but just the conditioning that we can give ourselves, our nervous system. There's a question, do we know if it impacts the lymphatic system too? Yeah, I do think that there is going to be an impact with the lymphatic system in many different ways. Yes, because firstly, we're tapping on these points. And if you look lymphatic drainage, then sometimes they would just be gently touching on different points. And yes, definitely underarm or some of these neurovascular points. You can't really be tapping anywhere on the body. You can just be stroking. They call it havening because Peaceful Heart Network, Ulf is a havening trainer, so he incorporated some of the havening moves. But basically, any of these contribute to the lymph move. And when we talk about the drop of cortisol means loosening of the soft tissue because lots of cortisol means hardening of the soft tissue. With the hardening of the soft tissue means the more restriction in the lymph flow. So there's definitely that massive cascade effect as well. Okay, great. All right, so we still have some more time. Let's see. I would love to show then my version, which is very similar. My version, I call it ABC of tapping. And if I can just pull up one slide to show it to you. My computer is a little bit slow today, so I'm just going to put this in the chat box for you to pull up the chart later. If you click on the green shirt child, then a downloadable handout will show. Yeah. And basically, yes, if you go to that website, you see the green shirt boy with these different tapping points. But the way I have shared tapping on our campus with our colleagues is called ABC of tapping. And I see the comment, let me come back to that. A for awareness, B for breathing, and C for calming the nerves as we tap or stroke. So basically the same thing with the Peaceful Heart Network. It's just that I really make an emphasis on the stroking and pulling on the fingers later. Oh, thank you so much for adding that there, the downloadable. Thank you. And before we go into that, there's a question about hand clapping. Is that a form of tapping? I would say so. Again, the hand has so many nerve endings, and so whatever stimulation that we can give to our hands, well, it's nerve calming, I think. It may not be tapping, but I like doing this kind of tapping too. So that you would be experiencing the tapping with your hand, the vibration, and all these micro capillaries. When we say in Asian countries, we say that when our hands are warm, that means when the blood is flowing through the tippy top of our fingers, that really has an impact on the overall blood flow for the whole body. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question exactly. Please feel free to elaborate if you have further questions, but I do think that hand clapping is a really good thing to do. All right, so let's go into the ABC of tapping. So with this one, again, we'll start with the side of the hand. And with this one, we're going to be doing a little more awareness. I invite you to think about a body scan, just an imaginary body scan. Let that sink through your body and see where it detects your stress or tension. For some of you, it might be the weight on the shoulder. For some of you, it might be some sadness in your heart. For some of you, it might be anything and all, non-judgmental awareness. And we're going to pull up that body scanner from the bottom of our feet and let it pass through our body once again and just send it out into the heaven. As if maybe it can start disintegrating some of the stuff already. And I might say just a few words here, even though I'm noticing the stress, I honor and accept. This is what I feel right in this very moment. Now that is just to, again, facilitate the awareness, but also give ourselves unconditional, non-judgmental acceptance of what is being present in the moment. Then I do like to go to the top of the head and invite you to breathe in calm, pausing at the top, and then slow, long exhale at your own pace. You don't have to go exactly along with me. Go at your own pace. If you find that one spot feels really good to you, you're more than welcome to stay right there. But I will just, for the sake of it, move on to the next point, which is the beginning of the eyebrow. Once again, breathing in calm, pausing at the top, and slow, long exhale. So controlled breathing in itself, the expansion and the slow shrinking of the cavity, the thoracic cavity, the chest area, that has this impact of sending a message from the body to the brain that it is okay for me to calm right now. Going over to the corner of the eye. Once again, breathing in. And again, I'm just a fast tapper, so feel free to go at your own pace. Breathing in calm. You can even bring that breath into the area of your tension. And slow, long exhale. Up the cheekbone. Yes, you can glide over, or you can just go over there. Once again, breathing in calm. And letting a thread of stress out as you breathe out. If there are other places around your face that you want to tap on, if you feel like your jaw is tense, by all means, feel free to do that. Listen to your body, follow your body's lead. We're working with the body. The body's always there to support us fundamentally. Then going over to the nose point. Breathing in calm. And exhale. Controlled breathing. That in itself is a very, very powerful technique. Moving over to the chin. Breathing in calm. Pause and exhale. Just imagine your nervous system feeling calmer. Just imagine the cortisol level dropping and maybe the relaxation hormone increasing. Chest point. And also you can imagine having some of the emotions might possibly be surfacing for some people. But that is just its way of being lifted. Whatever might have been suppressed is having a choice to be seen, to be heard. And we're acknowledging it, which is the first step in letting it go. And into the rib cage and under the arm. And here comes another unique signature tapping point for me as we tap on the inside of the wrist to the inside of the wrist. I'm sorry if my network is a little bit laggy. The cable should be connected, but it's saying that. I'm sorry, let me just quickly check. Keep on tapping. It's not charging, so if it drops, I'm sorry, but let's just make sure we finish this round.
We lost her. Anybody know what's next?
No, I didn't look at the the ABC of stress management. I didn't open that, so no, I didn't.
Charlie?
Yeah, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Where is she?
I think
I
her
think she's
internet dropped.
frozen. Yeah, her
Yeah.
internet dropped. But what was the question?
Yeah, the question is, seems to me that people do unconscious or subconscious tapping. For instance, you'll see somebody go. So I'm wondering if there's any studies about unconscious or subconscious tapping.
That's a good point. Maybe she'll be asking back in
Carrie
this.
was mentioning, kind of drumming fingers on a keyboard or something, like her
Mhm.
husband kind of
Yeah, like my dad
or
used to
flicking
tap
a
his
pen
fingers.
or
Yeah,
That's
or tap
definitely
his fingers on the dinner table or something
yeah,
like that.
drumming.
Yeah.
Like drumming, yeah.
that's
So I'm
definitely
sure.
a coping. For him, it's like deceleration.
Ah,
So but unfortunately, he often sits right there, and it can,
yeah,
especially if I'm trying to focus, it can
yeah.
feel like, especially if it's noisy.
And
I think
because he's aware of it, sometimes it's offensive, right?
Right. If the dogs do something like that, you're right, 100%. Because the
Yeah,
dogs aren't aware that I've said, please don't do that. I'm trying to focus.
right.
so. Charlie, do you want to ask her the question you had?
My apologies. Got
Mm.
dropped.
We tapped for a while and then started talking.
Oh, great. Let me just do the final stretch. I think I was doing the wrist point. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let's just do a few more points. So the inside of the wrist to the inside of the wrist. We're gonna revisit that stressor that you were feeling earlier and ask ourselves, how is this helping me? Sometimes we do need stress to get us going, to get us finish a project like last SMART. But sometimes it might be a thing of a past. If it's not needed, then as we flip our arm and tap the back side of the wrist to the back side of the wrist, or wherever you feel comfortable tapping, we can set the intention. I'm open and willing to let some of this go. I'm open to and willing to let some of it flow. And with that, we're going to go swipe down our arms like this. Just this move, just swiping down the arm in itself can have a very soothing and calming effect. But imagine we stirred up a lot of stress, and so we're just guiding it out from our body and then pulling it out from our fingers. There are meridian endpoints with the fingernail beds, so we're just pulling it out and letting it out, guiding it out from our body, whatever might have been stuck and stored there, opening up the channel to establish a flow so it can continue to flow in its own divine timing. And letting it go, letting it go, letting it go. And let's take one final breath in, breathing in whatever you like to breathe in, whether that be joy or calm. And exhaling, feeling more grounded. Let's do one more breathing. And out. Thank you very much. That was a long, winded round of tapping, but the ABC of tapping, which includes some of this additional stuff.
I love
I
that.
found that after each area of tapping, I wanted to rub in a circular motion
Beautiful.
in each point. That
Yeah,
felt good.
lovely. I like that.
Yeah. It's sort of it's like it's set it in and but yet not exactly calmed it down, but it like smoothed it out.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
tapping stimulated, but then the circular motion sort of smoothed it out and spread it. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Soothing. It's soothing.
Yeah, it's very
Mm,
soothing.
Very
mm,
soothing.
mm.
So Charlie, you had a question about studies of go ahead. You probably can word it better than I would.
Unconscious tapping, I think is what he said.
Unconscious tapping.
Yeah, unconscious tapping. We're doing this unconsciously.
Here, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah,
Yeah,
And
like the-
and
you're
some
like-
people might go like this unconsciously
yeah, yeah.
or
Mhm.
subconsciously. Are there any studies about that?
I don't personally know about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is. And I do think that whenever we're doing this kind of things unconsciously, it's probably just the body, letting the body move the energy. So I think there's a lot of talks about how autistic kids, they might not start tapping on the desk or some places too. I think that's a good thing. We don't want to kill it. It's a way for them to feel calmer in their body and release whatever needs to move. So, and
Okay.
if we think about it, like all of these points that we go when we're shocked, oh my goodness, we already do it. It doesn't need studies to, I think for me personally, at least, the studies are great to validate that there is something happening, but I think we just innately already know automatically what's helpful and supportive for our body and nervous system.
Yeah, like like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Or namaste, like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. 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 I do have one tool that I can show you that's really interesting. It's called an energy rod. It's a science tool for little kids. It's a diode inside a plastic tube with aluminum wrapped on both ends. This one, it has the plastic still, but there's some cutout here, so I can touch the the inside here, the aluminum. And so when I do this, and this is always fun to do with a big group of students too, they go like, I'll show you what happens with just one person for now because we're remote. Can you hear it?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Connect, disconnect, connect, disconnect.
Oh.
And even if we have 20 students across the room, if someone over there disconnects their hand, it stops. And when they connect, it reconnects. So this is just a little tool to show how electrical circuit is in our body. So I like to think that as we do, the AED, the heart resuscitation, those devices, it's pumping in electrical signals. And so what if we're doing that to stabilize, normalize the electrical flow of our own body?
Mitsuko,
Mhm.
would you that device you showed us? Would you give that to Nikki so she can send it to us? How to get it? How to acquire it?
Sure, sure. Let me pull that up right now. Yeah. Science
What was
experiment.
the name of it? What was the name of that?
It comes with many different names. This one is energy rod.
Okay,
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah, here's a YouTube video that I can pop
Oh,
in
science.
there.
Everything's perfectly organized. I'll start working on my thesis.
Grammarly will ensure you feel confident, Neil.
Stop that one. Yep, energy rod. Yep, thank you for sharing that. Energy rod. Human electricity energy stick circuit experiment. So with that basically concludes my presentation. But I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you're motivated enough to give yourself a little tapping experiment as the day goes by. And if any of you would like ongoing support, the free tapping circles that's offered through Georgia Tech is always available. We are expanding. We have more people that want to host too, because as we hold space for others, we are surely including our own tapping. It's a great way for us to hold ourselves accountable with the tapping. Otherwise, it's so easy to let the day slip by. So there's that available. I love this opportunity. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for bringing me in.
Thank you for coming and
Yeah.
sharing this with us.
Thank you. And how can we help you? Can we give you testimonials or any other kind of
Oh,
support?
yes, I would love testimonials. I would love to offer more workshops like this.
Okay.
If you have a group of friends, if there's another network that you have that would welcome me to share this, I would love to do that.
Okay.
If any of you happen to be interested in an EFT tapping overtime certification, it's something that I'm starting to explore. I also did submit a funding request to get trained for a havening trainer.
Okay.
That way we can officially roll out more tapping circles as more people get trained in it too.
Awesome.
So I love spreading the word. I love doing this with people.
You're a very good teacher. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for joining us today. We learned a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
And do you want to share in the chat where, if they want to do a testimonial, where they would put that? I think you gave me a
yes.
place, so yeah.
Did I give you a place?
Well, I want to say I just gave it to you on your Facebook page, so whatever works for you.
Okay, right. Then how about this? You can send it to me through email at Mitsuko@Soxage. It's a little strange. I started out delivering massage using my feet, suku. And that was a big hit too, because of the deep
Yeah.
penetrating body weight into the trigger points. The trigger points is basically the muscle knots, which is corresponding with the acupressure points. So there is that. And I just really, really appreciate each of
Thank
your
you.
attention, each of your engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
Mitsuko, it was a pleasure. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
So much.
thank you.
Okay,
All right.
bye.
And for next week, we have Terry coming back. So she'll give a little presentation and hopefully do a guided meditation. She missed the guided meditation part last time. She got so into the teachings, but she always has some really good stuff on presence process. Anybody want to sign up for the week after? That would be the first Sunday in, where are we? April, May. Oh my gosh, we're in May already.
Oh, don't. Ugh.
I know.
Going
It's
way
like,
too
whoa,
fast.
wait a minute. What happened to the first quarter of the year?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to volunteer? I do have a list of others we can go for, but if you have
It's
someone.
Cinco de Mayo, you know.
Ah, okay.
So the lesson should be how to make a good margarita.
I got some good recipes for those.
All right. All right.
I have to get those from you. I like a frozen margarita
Mhm.
with salt.
Got an ice crusher? You need one of those.
All right.
Thank you.
Mitsuko. We appreciate you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
All right. So
So
we can ask again next week if nobody has any burning desire for Cinco de Mayo.
can we stop the recording for a second because I want
Yes.
to check in?
Yes, yes. Thank you for reminding me.